Her hands trembled as the cold night air brushed against her face. The sound of the ocean waves outside the window felt louder than her own heartbeat. In that single moment, everything Shen Yue had held together for months began to fall apart. What Dylan said that night didn't just end their story, it shattered the very foundation of what she believed love was. Before we dive deeper into this heart-wrenching moment that has the entire internet in tears, make sure you subscribe right now because the next part of this story will leave you completely speechless. If you've ever believed in love that hurts and heals at the same time, this one will stay with you forever. The confession happened late in the evening. The crew had wrapped up filming, the lights on set were dimmed, and only a few staff members were left clearing the stage. Shen Yue was sitting quietly near the piano, tracing her fingers across the old ivory keys. She was lost in thought, thinking about how everything had changed between them lately. Dylan walked in without a word, his face pale, his eyes distant. She smiled faintly, trying to lighten the air, but he didn't smile back. "Shen Yue," he said softly, his voice trembling slightly. "There's something I've been hiding for too long." The silence that followed was unbearable. Shen Yue's heart raced as she looked into his eyes, trying to find some trace of warmth. But all she saw was pain, deep and unspoken. He took a deep breath and continued, "I can't keep pretending anymore. What we had, what everyone thought we were, it isn't real anymore. I tried to fight it, but somewhere along the way, I lost myself." Her eyes widened. The words hit her harder than she expected. She stood up, her breath shaking, unable to speak. "Dylan, what are you saying?" she whispered. He looked away, his jaw tight, as if forcing himself not to break down. "I cared about you more than I ever admitted," he said, his voice barely holding together. "But I also hurt you, Shen Yue. And now every time I look at you, I see what I ruined." Her tears fell silently. She walked closer, her hands reaching for his, but he stepped back. That tiny movement was enough to break her completely. She had been strong through rumors, through long filming nights, through endless emotional scenes that blurred the line between acting and reality. But this was different. This was Dylan, the person who once promised to protect her no matter what, now walking away from everything they had built. The moonlight through the window caught her tears as they fell onto her hands. The room felt colder with every second that passed. Dylan's voice cracked as he said the words she never wanted to hear. "It's over, Shen Yue. I'm sorry." She froze. Her knees weakened, and she leaned against the piano for support. Every memory they shared rushed back in fragments, every laugh, every quiet night when they rehearsed lines long after everyone else had gone home. It all came crashing down at once. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. Her heart was too heavy, her chest felt tight. Dylan turned to leave, his footsteps echoing softly across the empty set. And then, she whispered the words that stopped him for a brief second. "Do you still love me?" He paused at the door. The silence stretched like eternity. Then, without turning around, he said in a faint, trembling tone, "That's what makes it so hard to let you go." Her tears fell faster. The door closed behind him, and Shen Yue sank to the floor. The piano key beneath her hand pressed down, releasing a soft, broken note that filled the room like a goodbye. Hours later, a crew member found her still sitting there, lost in thought, tears streaking her face. She wasn't crying anymore, just staring at the space where he stood last. Her mind replayed his words again and again until they stopped feeling real. The next morning, fans noticed something strange. Shen Yue had deleted every photo of Dylan from her phone and social media. No captions, no explanations. Just silence. Her eyes looked swollen in the behind-the-scenes video released that day, and people began asking what had really happened between them. Dylan, too, seemed distant. During his next interview, when asked about Shen Yue, he paused for a long time before saying softly, "Some goodbyes never sound right, no matter how you say them." The internet exploded with speculation. Clips from their past dramas resurfaced, fans analyzed every glance and every line they ever shared on screen. Some believed it was all a misunderstanding. Others said Dylan's confession was the result of something deeper, something that had been haunting them both for months. But no one knew the truth except Shen Yue and Dylan. And for her, that night would remain etched in her memory forever. The sound of his voice, the way the light caught his face, the quiet sorrow in his eyes, it would all replay endlessly in her mind like a scene that refused to fade. She later told a close friend that she still felt his presence every time she stepped onto a film set. "He taught me what it means to love someone completely," she said softly. "And he also taught me what it means to lose that love. Sometimes love doesn't end in anger. Sometimes it ends in silence, in tears that never dry, in moments that never leave." Shen Yue learned that the hardest goodbyes aren't the ones we speak, they're the ones we live through quietly when no one is watching. As the world continues to talk about that night, one thing remains certain: the story of Shen Yue and Dylan isn't just another celebrity rumor. It's a reminder that even behind the brightest smiles, some hearts are still learning how to heal. And if you believe that love, no matter how painful, can still be beautiful, make sure you subscribe right now, because the next story will take you even deeper into the untold emotions behind the spotlight. What comes next will leave you breathless. The days after Dylan's confession felt endless. Every morning, Shen Yue woke up hoping it had all been a dream. The image of him standing there, his voice shaking as he said those final words, haunted her in every quiet moment. The sound of his goodbye lingered in her mind like an echo she couldn't silence. Weeks turned into months, but the wound stayed fresh. She had buried herself in work, taking on new roles, traveling to new places, doing everything she could to forget the man who had once promised her forever. But every script she read, every scene she acted, somehow led her back to him. His voice, his eyes, his silence, they were still there, written between every line. Then one afternoon, everything changed. Her manager walked into the studio with a new script in hand. "It's a new drama," she said softly. "They've already chosen your co-star." Shen Yue nodded absent-mindedly, not caring much. But when her eyes fell on the name written beside hers, she froze. Dylan Wang. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. The world spun in quiet disbelief. After all the pain, all the distance, all the silence, fate had brought him back into her life again. The first day on set was suffocating. The crew whispered behind the cameras, their curiosity barely hidden. When Dylan walked in, Shen Yue's heart trembled. He looked different, older, quieter, his eyes holding a weight that hadn't been there before. Their gazes met for just a second, but that second stretched into eternity. He nodded slightly, offering a small smile. Shen Yue forced herself to look away, pretending to read her lines, pretending her heart wasn't breaking all over again. Scene 1, the director called. Action. It was a love scene, the kind that mirrored their real lives too closely. Dylan stepped closer to her, his lines soft but trembling. "You said you'd never leave," he whispered, his eyes locked on hers. Her script told her what to say next, but she couldn't follow it. The words caught in her throat. When she finally spoke, her voice broke, trembling with emotions she couldn't control. "I didn't want to," she whispered, her tears falling before she could stop them. The set went silent. The director didn't yell cut. He didn't need to. Everyone knew this wasn't acting anymore. Dylan took a small step forward, his hand trembling as he reached up to brush a tear from her cheek. "I never meant to hurt you," he said quietly. "But if I didn't walk away, I would have destroyed us both." Shen Yue shook her head. "You already did," she whispered. The pain in her voice tore through the silence like a storm. Dylan's hand dropped slowly, his eyes glistening. For a long moment, neither spoke. They just stood there, two broken souls still bound by love, yet separated by everything that had gone wrong. Later that night, when the crew had packed up and the lights dimmed, Shen Yue stayed behind on set. The empty space echoed with memories, laughter from old projects, the warmth of his presence, the love that used to make her feel invincible. She didn't hear him come back. But when she turned, he was standing there again, quiet, hesitant, holding a small folded note in his hand. "I never sent this," he said softly. "I wrote it the night I walked away." She looked at the paper but didn't take it. "Why now?" she asked, her voice fragile. "Because you deserve to know what I couldn't say that night," he replied. He unfolded the note, his voice trembling as he read it aloud. "I walked away because I loved you too much to watch you suffer with me. I thought I was saving you, but in the end, I only saved my pride. I never stopped loving you, not for a single day." Shen Yue's eyes filled again. "Then why didn't you fight for us?" she asked softly. "I thought letting you go was the fight," he said. Her tears fell silently. She wanted to hate him, to turn away and never look back. But she couldn't. The love between them, though shattered and fragile, was still there, quiet, buried, but alive. For a long time, they said nothing. Then Shen Yue took the note, folded it, and pressed it against her chest. "Maybe love doesn't end," she whispered. "Maybe it just changes." Dylan nodded slowly, a faint smile breaking through the sorrow. "Then maybe this is our change," he said. They stood together in that dimly lit set, surrounded by the ghosts of their past and the fragile hope of something new. The cameras were off, the crew was gone, but for the first time in months, their hearts spoke freely. And though it wasn't a happy ending, it was real. It was honest. Sometimes closure doesn't come with goodbyes. Sometimes it comes with understanding, and that night, Shen Yue finally understood that love isn't always meant to be perfect. Sometimes it's meant to teach you how to let go. As she walked out of the studio for the last time, she looked back at him once more. Dylan stood there, watching her leave, the faintest trace of peace in his eyes. She smiled weakly, whispering to herself, "It's really over now." But deep down, they both knew, some stories never truly end. They just find a quieter place to live inside the heart. If this story touched your heart, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more emotional stories like this one. Stay tuned, because sometimes, the next chapter isn't about falling in love again, but learning how to heal from it.